Welcome to today's topic. It is about laziness. So, the Buddhist religious type definition of laziness is, somebody who's engaging in non-virtuous activity for prolonged periods of time, who avoid meditating, who to spiritual masters, Buddha, the Dalai Lama, reading, basically spending any time doing non-virtuous activity. And the point of these meditations is not driven towards people who are Buddhist, it's just people who are interested in the philosophy. So I'm changing this a bit to counteract laziness as somebody who isn't involved in their self-care or their self-improvement. So they find all of these other things to do that's not focusing on bettering themselves, especially somebody who says that they do want to better themselves. So that's what we're looking at today, laziness. We're going to explore what laziness is, and we're also going to do a little bit of meditation about it. So firstly, let's just warm up the body. I do this, sometimes I do this in the beginning, sometimes I do it before meditation, but I think just to sit and to listen, maybe we need to stretch our bodies a bit. Remembering that as I'm explaining a concept, if you'd like to sit, then that's fine, but you don't have to sit in any certain position. You can kind of move around and stuff as I'm talking. Okay, and then maybe straightening out there, rocking the legs from side to side. And finding a position, whatever that is, it's just going to allow the body to settle while I give my explanation this morning. So one of my favorite definitions of laziness is in the Tibetan Book of the Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche. I'm sure I've said his first name wrong. Sogyal. And he was saying there's two different types of laziness, the one in the East and the one in the West. So he describes the one in the East as the typical Indian who's in the sun, hanging out all day, not doing anything, avoiding work or useful activity, drinking cups of tea, listening to music, and having chats about, or gossiping, I guess, because gossiping isn't necessarily a nice thing, with their friends. And Western laziness is the total opposite, and I think I certainly can relate and have related to this in the past. Western laziness is about when you're constantly doing something, so this distraction. So you cram our lives full of activity, like every single second has to be planned. So there's no time at all to confront any real issues. There's no time to confront how maybe we're feeling, how we're treating people, how our relationships are, evaluating if we're happy in work or not. And both of these forms the Western form of laziness, it lies in our failure to choose worthwhile activities for our energy. So, instead of just saying, right, this is my thing, I'm going to be the best mother that I can be, or the best parent that I can be. I have to be the best parent. I have to be the best at whatever job they're doing if they're working outside the home. I have to be the best friend, the best sister, the best daughter, son, whatever it is. It's like you can't. It's just completely impossible. And when you do that, when you think that you have to be the best and focus on everything instead of one thing, that's when we end up losing everything, especially our minds. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So it's quite an interesting concept, this version of laziness. So just a quick quote by the Dalai Lama. So he says that one can be deceived by three types of laziness. One of indolence, which is the wish to procrastinate. The laziness of inferiority, which is doubting your capabilities. And the laziness that is attachment to negative actions or putting great effort into non-virtue. So again, non-virtue would be the meditation practice. And I think this is very different to the definitions of laziness that we're used to. The laziness is sitting on the sofa all day watching TV, which, of course that's a version of laziness, but we don't think about what we're doing, just constantly running around, as a version of laziness, but that it also is. So what is meditation exactly? Because a lot of people, myself included, think that meditation is what we're doing. Well, not even what we're doing right now, because you don't have a guide that's blabbing on. She says something and then you have to think about, he or she says something, and then you sit in silence and think about it. And that's not actually what meditation is. It's exploring a concept. It's like reading a text of some kind, of any kind of text that makes you think about how to improve yourself, and then contemplating it. And sometimes we need a guide. Like I do that, and then my mind goes off. So sometimes it's nice to sit and be guided by somebody with meditation. So that's one form of meditation. And another form of meditation is being in the present moment. This concept of mindfulness that they're introducing within the psychology realm. So, when this is terrible, to admit, but when I used to do group therapy, towards the end, I just checked out. I hated the job. I was just, it had become routine to me. It's like, yeah, you're going to say the same thing that the guy said 3 years ago. And, it's like the same script. And I used to sit in group with this, okay, and somehow be able to formulate these questions. And I'd leave group and we'd have to write about the session. And I look at my colleague and say, what did they say? I really don't remember. I was thinking about what I was going to have for dinner, what I was doing after work, maybe some issue that I was having. I was thinking about everything under the sun except for what this person was saying to me. And that's a version of laziness as well. I'm not focusing on, that's a version of meditation. When you're sat there listening to what somebody is saying, or where you're sat reading your book and your phone is on the other side on silent, or anything where you're in the moment when you're cooking. And they say, I took a philosophy class once in London, and they were saying, clean the house with no music. And I was like, what? You have to listen to music when you clean, and the whole point is that you're not focusing on the act of cleaning, and the music's in the background. So I sometimes do that, and it's really interesting. I do feel more fulfilled when I do that, but I do enjoy the task at hand when I have music going, but afterwards I feel a bit less fulfilled. And then meditation is also just constantly monitoring our thoughts. So as I've mentioned before, the book that my mentor, Venerable Fedor, wrote called Urban Meditations, he says in there, when we're sitting on a train, or busy public transport, or even just sitting having lunch or on a bench, if we're waiting for somebody, instead of checking our phones, just observing our thoughts. Where is our mind? And I really like doing this, actually. I try to put my phone away when, notice I said try to put my phone away when I'm waiting for somebody, or in a queue or something, because actually that's a really good time to check our mind. Where these people walking by and I'm like, oh my God, she's so fat. Why is she wearing that? That's horrible. Oh God. Oh, that's awful. Just looking at these people, or am I looking oh, I wonder why that person's overweight. Do they have a disease? Are they ill? Send them compassion, or maybe they're walking around proud in some outfit that I would never be caught dead in if I was that size. Okay, well, that's great that they have that confidence to wear that outfit. Who am I to judge? If they feel good and that makes them feel confident, there's nothing wrong with that. Or, maybe seeing somebody with a disability and sending compassion to them, maybe not pity or avoiding them. Isn't that what we love to do with disabled people? Is that, oh God, they're different, don't look. We teach our kids that, don't stare. Is there something wrong? Because the kid's probably not thinking, depending on the age, they're actually probably not thinking, what a weirdo. They're just genuinely curious that they're different to the rest of the human race. And I guess instead of saying, oh God, don't stare, they're different, engaging in this conversation about how we all are different, about how, it's important to be compassionate and kind to everybody, no matter what they look like, no matter what their skin color is. So those are all forms of meditation that we can engage in all day long. It's really easy. We're involved, but we're around people all of the time, or we see things on TV, or, we're reading whatever activity we're engaged in. We can we can be present in the moment without having the radio on the phone as we're cooking. That's being lazy, according to this Buddhist philosophy. And it gives us a chance as well, especially, when we're outside and seeing all of these different people or thinking about people in different situations, even watching a TV program doing quite a lot of TV programs on the pandemic and stuff. And it gives us a chance to grow this compassion for other people. So, maybe somebody who's overweight, but you're not. And instead of saying, oh God, I don't ever want to be that fat, or hope I'm not that fat, or whatever an unkind thing is being said in your head, and giving them some compassion, and hoping that whatever is the cause of them treating themselves unhealthily, or even if it's an illness, it's still they're suffering in some way, that we offer this compassion. Okay, so let's get into the meditation. I think I've covered all of the points that I wanted to say. And in the meditation today, we're going to focus on why we do this thing, why we're constantly distracting ourselves. So what's the laziness about? Inviting you to make any last movements before we settle down for the next 10 minutes. And either closing the eyes or finding a soft gaze in front of us, not focusing on anything. Imagining an open space, free from distractions, free from judgments, from ourselves and from other people. So there's a space maybe high up overlooking society, so that we can create spaciousness in the mind, so that we can create an desire for curiosity, for looking at things perhaps differently than we usually do. Grounding ourselves in this space. So what does it look like? What does it feel like? What's the temperature? What does it smell like? Telling ourselves this is a safe space. We can think about whatever we need to think about without judgments, maybe even something different. We could possibly plant a seed that would make our lives seem less difficult. And grounding in the safe space as we start to focus on the breath. Solidifying this concept of spaciousness. So as we inhale, taking in any suffering that we may feel, breathing in a sense of calm and peace. And this idea, a desire to really improve ourselves, our situation, to gain a different perspective as we inhale. And exhaling out any suffering, any distractions, any unwelcome or unpleasant thoughts and emotions. And we're inhaling this white cloud of almost purity, if you like. Exhaling a black cloud of unpleasantness into this open space, sending it far, far away. It eventually gets recycled into this white cloud, or this white energy that we absorb back into our bodies. with this open, curious, non-judgmental mind. Starting to contemplate what this concept of laziness means for us in our own lives. What is it that I keep running from? One of the pinnacle points of my career, psychology career, of what I wanted to leave was this concept of constantly redirecting clients to, I'm having a bad day. Well, what can we do? What's something nice you can make yourself? Who can you call? All of this stuff. And I'm actually really changed my mind on that school of thought. How can you feel safe sitting within that emotion is what I believe we should be asking. There's no need to distract. Let's find out what it is that we're running from and make friends with it. I know it's a cliche, like kind of cheesy thing to say, but it's actually the best thing I think we can do. So do I keep busy to distract myself? Or what is it, whatever I'm running from, can I sit with these feelings? And looking, examining, what does it mean to sit with these feelings? Well, it means instead of saying, don't feel sad, don't feel angry, don't feel jealous, don't feel, whatever unpleasant emotion it is, don't feel hatred. I feel hatred. Why? What's that about? That's how you sit with it. It's not, oh God, stay out of my life, go away, go away. It's, okay, I'm feeling hatred towards this person. I'm human. There's a reason for it. What is the reason? Most likely it's not about them, it's about us. There are very few people in the world that everybody hates. If you even look at Charles Manson, a U.S. serial killer, he had tons of followers. Even after he was convicted and told of the horrific stories. So it was something in us. Is it a fear that we could do the same thing he could do? Why do we have this generation for hate when we should be generating compassion for people who are suffering and causing suffering to others? So bringing the mind back to this laziness. When we ignore what's behind the laziness, that's when we can start to heal. When we face what's behind the loneliness, that's when we start to heal. So picking it away. Why am I always busy? What am I unhappy about? What is causing me to constantly chase? And what are the advantages of realizing that the mind is flexible? And that we can think differently, that we don't have to run and find this constant search for happiness, because I'm sorry, but it doesn't exist. So what's the advantage of saying, yeah, I'm really angry at this person, I could have harmed them. Why? What's that all about? We gain some understanding, we gain some peace of mind. We gain the ability to be compassionate with others. Bringing the mind back to this idea of the laziness and what's behind our laziness. What are we running from? What's so bad that we want to ignore it and push it away? Bringing the meditation to an end. Taking the rucksack out. And placing in the tool, maybe it's even something, this whole concept of laziness to me certainly was new. It's different. Normally someone who's busy all the time is the opposite of lazy. Maybe taking that in the bag to take it out when you have some time to think. When you make time to think. Close the rucksack up. Visually coming back into the reality that we are in. Gently opening the eyes, becoming visually aware of the reality that we're in, which is different to each person, and maybe physically there's some chaos going on around us. Being grateful that you took the time to sit and listen to this meditation and have time for yourself, to maybe improve on yourself. And sometimes I like to set little challenges. So the challenge today is normally at a point when you take your phone out to distract yourself, I would really encourage you to keep it away and to think. And either the exercise that I was suggesting about what are your thoughts of other people, or maybe even taking time to think about the concepts that were discussed this morning, or maybe taking more time. I didn't give much time about meditating on what your laziness is about, so maybe even spending some time doing that instead of, I know I'm certainly guilty of spending way too much time on my phone these days. So thank you very much. Let's dedicate the practice to somebody perhaps who's suffering from laziness, including ourselves. And ending with the four immeasurables, sending compassion to all beings. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be dissociated from the supreme happiness which is without suffering. May they remain in boundless equanimity, free from attachment to close ones and rejection of others. And I thank you very much for watching these and motivating me to do these meditations, because that helps counteract my laziness. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.